The first tip is the student, you should answer the questions for which you knew the answers surely as soon as possible, so that you can have enough time to think about questions for which you don't know the answers. It says that when you open your online examination portal, there is a time limit. So all the total examination may be given with 3 hours time or 2.5 hour time. So all the questions, the 100 questions in your exit exam need to be performed in this particular period of time. So even though if you think the examination time period is 2.5 hour, that means around 150 minutes, isn't it? So how many questions you need to complete within this time? You need to complete 100 questions. So how much time is really allocated for each question? It's just 1.5 minute. So that is the reason I am mentioning, if you are able to complete answering the questions that you know very well, you know it before, damn sure the answer is very correct for you, don't spend much time on it. Simply answer all the questions surely, for which surely you know the answers as soon as possible, so that you can save the time to look after the remaining questions. So if there is some questions need to have more thinking, if some questions need to have some calculation part, for that purpose this 1.5 minute per question is not enough. You need more time to answer those questions. So when you are able to answer the questions for which you have a sure answers very quickly within a short period of time, so the relative amount what you are saving on these questions can be paid for another questions to make out the answers for those tough questions. So that is the reason all students first answer all the questions for which you know the answer surely as soon as possible, so that you can save the time for other questions. Sometimes the students stuck with the questions, and they start thinking much and making different calculations or maybe reasonings in order to figure out the answer. But it may take more time, though you can, after spending some time, you can figure out the answer, surely you can answer it, but it may take for questions 4 minutes or maybe 5 minutes. So is it good to spend that much amount of time on one question and put the risk on another question, so that at the end you may lose your time in order to answer very important questions? So what you can do, so instead of putting yourself in a risk, so you better, when you find some difficulty to get answer quickly for some questions, you simply skip that question and move on to another question. So sometimes what will happen, when you are starting to answer different other questions, so in the back side, in your subconscious mind, so already you have initiated some command for your mind that you need some answer, but you have not figured it out, so that you moved on. But the some process may be going on your brain in the subconscious mind. When you are trying to answer some other questions, sometimes the other answers may be linked to the previous questions. Sometimes the options which are under listed under the other answers, they may link to that previous question. So whenever such kind of link is established, then your thought process will trigger and it will figure out the answer for the previous questions. Sometimes so as we discussed in the previous sections, management is also related to science, where some concepts is always true in all context. For example purpose, getting low revenues. So there are so many reasons why some companies are getting low revenues. Maybe due to lack of sufficient technology, due to a lack of sufficient demand, maybe due to lack of sufficient infrastructure facilities, or maybe due to lack of sufficient government support. So there may be n number of reasons that may be contributing for low revenues for the company. But when you are facing a question in the exit examination which is asking what is the reason for low revenues for your company, so they may list out different answers. the different choices. So how can you find out which choice is suitable? If you are very good, you can find it by simply observing that choices. But when you are assessing those options choices na, if you are not sure which choice is compatible for this question, which choice is best to answer for this question, so there is one trick you can explore. So the question is asking about low revenues. That means it is a kind of negative outcome for the company, negative situation for the company, or threat related situation for the company. Then you need to see the options which are under the questions, whether they have this innate ability to cause some negative effect on the company. Like for example, pay high demand. In a common sense, you can see that whenever your product is in high demand in the market, you will not going to get any low revenues, because many people they purchase it whenever your product is related to the market. Okay, otherwise good federal support or good government support, and most of the time lack of government support is leads to the low revenues. So that means when your business environment is having a good government support for you, it will never be an negative outcome for you. So the high demand cannot be a negative outcome, or good government support cannot be a negative outcome. Or let's say there may be another options like skilled employees. Okay, whenever you are having a very high skilled employees, so that is always going to give a positive outcome for the company, because since they are very skilled, they cannot waste the materials. Okay, they can be very efficient in their work, they can save the time, they can improve the quality. So all these positive outcomes you can get it for the business, not negative outcomes. Okay, let's say another example, another options is a kind of inflation rate. So if you think the inflation rate, first what you need to observe whether it has a negative outcome. Yes, inflation has a potential negative outcome for the company, because the inflation leads to or force you to increase your product price. So whenever you are increasing your product price, that is going to affect your revenues negatively. So that means when you compare these four items, the fourth one has the potential negative outcome for your company. So now there is a context similarity. So even though you are not sure about all these four options, try to identify some relevancy by following these basic principles. Then you can figure out the answer and answer it correctly. Never jumps to answer without completely reading the questions and understand the question. So some people they get more excited when they are writing these examinations. What they do, they simply read what they want and they forget about what the question wants. So they read the question, maybe half question or maybe some part of the question, and jumps to the conclusion that yes, question is requiring like this. So and they select the blindly some options for that. So that is called blind answer. It is not rational answer. So whenever you are attempting any competitive examinations like this, so first principle, you need to understand the question very clearly. First read that question and it is understandable, then see the options and compare its relevancy, its nature, and so many reasoning types you can make out, so many thought process you can make out, and figure out the answer and put that answer. Your answer is right when you surely know that all the other options are wrong. So sometimes you may be in a situation when you are writing your exit examination. Clearly, you don't know the answer. But there is a trick that you can still figure out some answer which may be related to the question, when you can surely know that among the four options, three options not at all related to the question. 100% it will never be answer for your questions. Then that give a clue for you. So since out of four options, three options don't have a chance, don't have a relevancy, don't have a nature, don't have a probability to become the answer, whatever is left, whether you clearly know it or not, whatever is left, that is going to be answer for the question. So this is called deduction methodology. So when you know out of the 4 answers, 3 answers are not related, 100% certain that these 3 options are not going to be the answer, there is no possibility, then whatever is left, the 4th options, by default it will be the answer for your questions. For example, which is useful for the virtual conference in company? MS Word, Google Meet, SPSS software, and Wikipedia. So any graduate students, they may simply guess that MS Word is for writing a document. So we cannot perform any virtual meeting by using this MS Word. Next, SPSS software. I am already very sure that SPSS software is for statistical processing to perform different statistic test. Wikipedia, very known open source knowledge resource. Wikipedia is simply a website in which you can search for different topics what is interested for you. And another option is Google Meet. Maybe I may be coming from a very rural background area, I don't know about email, I don't know about all these other technologies. Okay, Google Meet, I don't know, really I don't know what it is. Just for example purpose, you think in that way. But I know very well about MS Word because I've been using it from my school. MS Word is for this purpose. So with 100% surety, I can deduct the chances for the Google MS Word to become the answer. SPSS software. Maybe through other people experiences or maybe my own experiences, I already knew that SPSS is a software. It is not a networking platform. So with 100% certainty, I can clearly deduct the chances for SPSS software to become for the answer for this question. Next, Wikipedia. Wikipedia is a knowledge resource. It is simply a website, and you search some topic in the Wikipedia and you will get some information related to it, not like a interactive virtual conferences. So now I know MS Word, SPSS software, and Wikipedia. These 3 options not at all having any chance to become answer for the question. So for that reason, whatever the option is left, the 4th one, that is Google Meet. Whether I know about this concept Google Meet or that particular technology, I don't know anything about Google Meet technology. What I know is that all the remaining 3 answers are not answers, are not real answers for the questions. So the one what is left is Google Meet. So straight away I can put that Google Meet as an answer, even though I don't know what is it Google Meet. But since all the remaining 3 options are wrong, so it could be the probability that this answer may be right, because I don't know whether it is really right or wrong. But for other things, surely I know those are wrong answers. So that is the reason when you 100% certain that the other 3 options are completely wrong answers, and whatever is left, that by default can be a answer for the questions, since it is a multiple choice question. Tip number 6. Even if you don't know the meaning for 1 or 2 words in the question, no need to worry when you could figure out the essence of the question. As I told you in the tip, even though sometimes you may encounter different words, really you may not be knowing the meaning of that word, but actually when you don't know the meaning of the words, 1 or 2 words in the question, so you may not able to answer it properly. But there is a chance that sometimes if you apply some reasoning and then read the questions very properly, even by omitting that word or maybe by perceiving that word in another form, you can find out the essence of the question. That means what it is really asking. So even though you don't know the meaning of 1 or 2 words in the question, but if you read it again by omitting that particular words or maybe by putting that words in different perception, you can still make out the essence of the question. For example, a jubilant worker after promoting to higher position tends to. So for example, you don't know the jubilant worker, so simply read it. A worker after promoting to higher position tends to. So jubilant, maybe it is a verb or adverb or whatever it is, you don't know about that one. So one strategy to omit that word and read it completely and to try to understand the essence of the question. Another strategy, you put that word what you don't know in a relatively to other words like jubilant worker. Normally we are using this worker words with a different combination like hard worker, smart worker, happy worker, sincere worker, so like that. So or bad worker or irregular worker, okay, or maybe unworthy worker. So this worker is being used in different combination. So another strategy to assign the related perception for that word. So for example, if I take it as a bad worker after promoting to higher position to after promoting to higher position tends to, that means the bad is not a related one, because why the bad worker can be promoted. So most of the time in the private organizations, if the organization thinks you are a bad worker, they don't give any promotion. So it is not a relevant word. So you put it some related perception, relative concept according to the other part of the sentence. Like what is the other part of the sentence? After promoting. So normally the good workers they can promote. They can be promoted. So put this word, a good worker after promoting to. So it is somewhat giving some essence, giving some meaning for you. So simply put in that way, a good worker or a hard worker after promoting to higher position tends to. So then you can read it, resign the job, commit to the job, ignore the job and dislike the job. So after getting promotion, everybody they may feel very happy. And then when they are feeling very happy, they put themselves very committed to the job. They don't want to go away from the job because they got the promotion right now, and they don't want to ignore because they got a good recognition from the organization by way of promotion. And then they don't dislike the job. If they dislike the job, first they don't take the promotion. So whatever is which option is very relevant for this question? Committing to the job. So finally I will select the answer, commit to the job. Tip number 7. Common sense do have great role in finding the answer. When the question is asked in one context, probably the answers also have the same context. Next example. Currently, what makes your company's distribution channel inefficient in Asosa Varada or maybe Asosa place? So what is the context here? Asosa. What are the conditions? Inefficiency. Okay, let's look after these options: manpower, material, machine and road connectivity according to the current context of Asosa. So what is really contributing for this inefficiency? Manpower, material, machine, road connectivity. So since you know about Asosa, so everybody, when you link it to the current context, when compared with all the remaining three options, road connectivity is more relevant answer for this one. Very suitable answer for this question, because whether you are having a good manpower, material or machine, as long as you are not able to supply your product to the customers in the right time, so it is called inefficient distribution channel. So the efficiency of distribution channel can be measured when you are able to deliver the product to the customer when he want, where he wants, how he wants it. So these three conditions cannot be met when there is no connectivity. Here practically we are experiencing the road connectivity problems. So when compared with the other three, the road connectivity can be an answer for this. So if you are not good enough to get quantitative answers quickly, do answer such questions at the end after attempting remaining non-quantitative questions. So this means that sometimes the questions in the exit examination may be conceptual, maybe technical, maybe applied questions, maybe quantitative questions. For such kind of students whose skill, whose knowledge in the quantitative courses is limited, so you better answer those questions at the end after you completely answer the remaining questions, so that you will give more priority for the questions what you can answer. And then if there is a time possibility, then you can come back to that portion, quantitative portions, and then you can work out different calculations and try to derive the answers. So all in all, if you are good in getting the answers very quickly by doing so many calculations in the quantitative formulas, that is well and good, you can do it. But you are not that much skillful in the deriving the answers very quickly, then postpone it After completing all the remaining questions, then you give a chance for those questions and try to answer those quantitative questions.
If you are not that much competent to focus on all the modules in the blueprint, you can give more priority to the modules and courses to which you have more grip. But at least you need to focus on modules and courses that can contribute 75% of the questions to the exit exam. So as I told you previously, if you have sufficient time, you have sufficient knowledge, if you have good academic skill, you can concentrate on 100% questions, all modules. That is appreciable, that is very good. If you have a time, you train for that, you target for that one. But when your time is limited, when your skill is limited, when your knowledge is limited about particular module, you give more priority for other modules for which you have more compatibility. The other one where you feel some reservations, then first you try to improve your knowledge or improve your way in order to prepare in that module. If it is not working, focus majorly on the modules with which you have a good compatibility. Next, read and practice again and again. You need to keep your brain in action mode. You can bake injera only on hot pan, not on cold pan. So many of the students, they may be doing this one night batting. Like if tomorrow is the examination, they prepare today night. So that cannot work out for this national examination or for example purpose, any kind of examination purpose, any examination point. So actually exam preparation requires a systematic efforts. You need to keep your brain in a very, very active mode, because whenever your brain is training in a way that it can read it very easily, it can understand it very easily, okay, it can process the information what you are providing from different sources very easily, then it can also release the answers very easily. So if you let your brain very lazy and you try to sleep it, and suddenly when the moment has come, then you try to ask your brain to give answers, why it can provide? Because up to this time you trained your brain as a lazy. So now you are asking your brain to give the answer, means why it can provide. So before going to the examination itself, you need to be trained in a way that you follow a systematic schedule. You read it, you understand it, you watch the videos, you discuss with friends about the topics, you contact your teachers and clarify your doubts, so that by all these ways you keep your brain in one way and another way always active, and then it is ready to process whatever the information it is receiving. So if you keep your brain in that highly processing mode, then when you enter into the examination session, that is very easy for you to assimilate the content of the questions and then process that in your brain and get the possible answer very easily. Otherwise, as I told you, the you can bake the injera only in a hot plate. When the plate is cold, you cannot prepare any injera at all. When your brain is cold, it's not active, then you cannot process anything from your brain. Okay.